Today we're going to be looking at a Plants vs. Zombies plush set that has barely any documentation of it and is extremely rare. And while this plush set actually only has 2 images of it that are known, being this one and this one, so yeah, it was actually kind of hard to make this video because the majority of the plushes don't have full images of them. As of a few plushes in the set barely even have half of them showing in most of the images or even less, so it's kind of hard to tell what some of these plushes actually look like. But yeah, with that said, welcome to a look at the Plants vs. Zombies Head Zombie Set 2 plush set. Starting off with the first plush in the set, we have the Peashooter. Now, this is the one image that we have of the plush, and while it's kind of hard to tell what the plush actually looks like, as it was facing the wrong way and also is extremely blurry. But from what I could tell, you could kind of see one leaf on the leaf base, and it kind of seems to look the exact same as the Linkson one, but it's kind of hard to tell. The stem, I don't really have a lot to say about it as well, but it just looks like a normal stem, and I can't really tell if there's a ring around the neck or not because the Blover leaf is blocking the majority of the stem. And well, for the actual part of the plush that we could see being the head, the shape of it seems to be inaccurate as well. The front of the head should be a bit wider as well, but just seems to just be really skinny in the front, so it probably should be a bit wider. They also made it the wrong color as well, but it's supposed to be a light green color, but this is a more dark green color. And while it seems to have a leaf on the back of the head, which looks accurate, and we could only see one eye in this image, and it's very hard to tell if it looks accurate or not. So I can't really say if the eye looks accurate or not, as well we don't really have any good images of this plush, so if, yeah, from what I could tell, you could just kind of see one eye, and it doesn't really seem to look like it's good or not. But yeah, there's really not that much to say about this plush as well, you could barely even see it. And while for the rarity of every single plush in the set, they're all extremely rare and basically impossible to find. Moving on to the next plush, we have the Sunflower. Now the leaf base and stem on this plush actually look really good and they're a lime green color. And while I actually like the lime green color as well, but it actually makes the plush a bit more unique and stand out a bit more. And while for the face on the Sunflower plush, it seems to be based off of the light face Sunflower plush made by Linkson as well, but seems to use that exact same shade for the face. And while for the petals around the head, they look pretty good and they actually seem to be really accurate looking. I can't really tell which material they're made out of, but either way they look pretty good. And while for the embroidery on the face, it also looks pretty good and basically looks the exact same as the Linkson plush, except the eyes are just slightly bigger. But yeah, I think that they definitely did a really good job with the Sunflower plush, and I actually really like it. And while unlike other bootleg Sunflower plushes, this one actually looks pretty good. Next up we have the Walnut. Now this is definitely one of the most accurate looking plushes in the entire set as well. Just compare it to the Linkson one and it looks the exact same. Like literally everything down to the embroidery basically looks the exact same as the Linkson plush, so yeah, this is definitely one of their better plushes in the set, but it makes sense why it looks basically the exact same. As a Walnut is just a really simplistic character, so it's no surprise that they did a great job making this plush, but yeah, this is definitely one of the most accurate looking ones compared to the Linkson plush, so this is definitely a really good bootleg. And while it also seems to be pretty nicely stuffed and everything, so overall it's a pretty good bootleg. Next up we have the Snow Pea. Now unlike the Peashooter, we could actually see this plush, which makes it a lot easier to talk about it as well. The leaf base looks pretty weird as well, but it has these big dimples in them. And I think they should have just used the exact same leaf base as the Sunflower plush as well. They didn't have dimples in them, so it ends up looking a lot better. The stem on this plush also just seems to be really long and also really skinny, meaning that I could probably get understuffed pretty easily. And while the head on this plush seems to be pretty good, and I do like the eye shines in the eyes as well, but it looks pretty good, and this plush actually seems to be based off of the limited edition Snow Pea plush, which could be the reason why there's dimples in the leaf base, and also the eyes look kind of similar to the limited edition one. But yeah, we can't see the back of the head, so I can't really tell if the ice spikes are accurate or not, but I'm guessing it probably has them as well, why wouldn't it? But you can never really know with bootleg companies, so they could possibly not have put them there, but they most likely are there. Next up we have the first design of the Chomper. Now usually bootleg companies make bootlegs of the second design of Chomper as well. The second design is by far the most popular version, but this company actually decided to make a bootleg of the first design. And while it actually looks pretty good, the leaf base is a lime color just like the Sunflower plush, and the face is actually a really light purple color. And well, honestly, it might just be the coloring of the photo as well. This one just seems to be really sun faded looking as well. Basically all the colors are just really light. So it could be because of the lighting of the photo, but also it could have just been made this way. But yeah, for the spikes on the head, they could get damaged as well. They're made out of a felt material, so they could get bent. The embroidery on the face seems to be really detailed, and unlike other bootlegs of the first design of Chomper, they didn't put all the details like really close together, so this one actually looks slightly better than most bootlegs, as usually bootlegs make the face way too small, so all the details just are kind of like squeezed together. But this bootleg company actually did a good job with it, and the football zombie in the mouth also looks pretty good, and once again it could get damaged just like the spikes on the head because they're made out of a felt material. But yeah, I have to say this plush does actually look pretty good, especially for a bootleg. Next up we have the Sun-shroom plush. Now I've already said this many times in my other videos, but I absolutely just hate this design of the Sun-shroom plush as well. I don't really know why so many bootleg companies stole this design, but it just looks horrible. As well, the face is just extremely inaccurate looking. I have no idea why they only used 2 small eyes and a mouth as well, but it just looks really strange. And well, it also just has a huge hole in the middle of the head because they added a dimple there. I have no idea why they did that either, but for some reason they did. And well, the shape of the Sun-shroom is just kind of really strange looking, and it doesn't really make it look any better having the dimple as well, but it makes the shape look even stranger. But yeah, it just basically seems to be an exact copy of the other Sun-shroom bootlegs that look exactly like this one. I have no idea which company originally made this Sun-shroom plush, and it will basically be impossible to figure it out as well. There's so many bootleg companies that use this Sun-shroom design, and I have no idea why. Next up we have the Fume-shroom. Now there's actually only one image of the plush that we could sort of see the face in, is this one, so you could kind of tell that there's an eye in the mouth there, but besides that, I can't really see anything else about it. And well, with the other image of this plush, we can only see a slight part of the mouth, so it's kind of hard to tell if the Fume-shroom's face looks accurate or not. But from this one image that we have that we could kind of see the face, it seems to be pretty accurate looking as well. The eye and mouth seems to be basically the exact same as the links in Fume-shroom. And I'm assuming the other side of the Fume-shroom's face is the exact same as this side, so in that case it would actually look accurate. And well, for the head shape on the Fume-shroom, it looks pretty good, and it actually seems to be really nicely stuffed. And well, for the shooter on the Fume-shroom, it looks pretty good, and is once again nicely stuffed and looks accurate. But yeah, for the top of the plush, they actually did a good job with it, but it's kind of hard to tell with the face, but from what I could tell, it actually seems to be pretty accurate looking. Next up we have the squash. Now the face used on this plush looks extremely accurate to the links and squashes, while basically all the details on the embroidered on part of the face looks good. The only bad part about this plush, and this seems to be a trend with bootleg squash plushes, is just really flat, and it also is just way too wide, so it ends up making the plush look really strange. And while there's also some stitching on the side of this plush to try to give it more definition, but it ends up making the plush just look really scrunched looking, and it doesn't really look that good. So yeah, once again, I have no idea why bootleg companies usually steal this design as well, just like the Sun-shroom, and never ends up looking good, so I have no idea why they just don't steal the links in design. And well, for whatever reason, the stem on this plush is also just way too wide and looks weird. Next up we have this Jalapeno. Now this plush actually looks great as well, but uses a lime green stem and also uses the exact same color for the lily pad. And well, once again, this could possibly be the lighting for the image, but I actually doubt it as well. You could actually see the squash plush next to the lily pad, and well, it doesn't actually look different. As well, if it was actually the lighting of the photo, the squash plush would also be a limer color, so I'm guessing this is actually just how the plush is made. Which actually makes it a lot more unique, and I actually like it that way. But yeah, this plush looks extremely accurate looking as well. Unlike other jalapeno plushes, they actually got the embroidery on the face right. As well, the eyes actually look really good, and the mouth is really nicely stitched on and looks perfectly accurate. And while the shape of the jalapeno is also extremely accurate looking, so yeah, unlike most bootleg companies, they did a great job with this one. But yeah, this is definitely one of the best jalapeno bootlegs I've ever seen. I actually wish more bootleg companies made their plushes look like this as well. This one just looks extremely accurate. Next up we have the Blover. Now, the leaf face on this plush, just like the Snoopy, has huge dimples in it, and it's obviously based off of the limited edition one, so that's why it has dimples there. But they're just way too big, and the plush just doesn't really look that accurate. And well, for the face on this plush, it actually looks pretty good, and the head is just facing up, which isn't accurate as well, but it's actually supposed to be facing straight, so I really don't know why they did that. The eyes and mouth are really nicely embroidered on, and they look pretty good, and the leaves are actually really nicely stuffed, so unlike other bootlegs, they actually look accurate. And well, if it wasn't for the leaf base on this plush and they actually made the leaf base look good, this plush actually would look overall pretty good as well. The only really bad thing about it then would be the face staring straight up. So yeah, this bootleg definitely did have potential to be good, but they just messed it up by giving the leaf base these huge dimples. Next up we have the split pea. Now just like the Blover, it seems that they actually used the exact same leaf base as the Blover plush as well, but once again has the huge dimples in them. The stem on this plush seems to be really nicely stuffed, and for the faces on this plush, it actually looks really good. For the normal Peashooter head, it actually seems to be really good as well. The eye shines and the eyes look pretty good, and they're overall just really nicely stitched on. The faces are also just really nicely shaped, and they look perfectly accurate to the limited edition / Lynxen one. And while the repeater face also looks extremely accurate, and if it once again wasn't for the leaf base, this plush would be great. But just like the Blover plush, it loses potential mainly just because of the leaf base just not looking that good. And I think if they just stole the Lynxen leaf base, this plush would actually just look a lot better overall. Next up we have the Starfruit. Now I really have nothing to say about this plush as well, but it uses the exact same design for every bootleg Starfruit plush. As though the face is embroidered on the exact same way, and the shape of the Starfruit is also the exact same, and it has the exact same stitching on the edge of the stars. And it was honestly kind of annoying that every single bootleg company used this exact same Starfruit bootleg shape, as well. Once again, it's impossible to find the original company that used this design, and it's also just extremely overused. But yeah, overall, I just kind of wish more companies were more unique with the Starfruit plushes instead of just fully copying each other. Next up we have this Magnet-shroom. Now for the eyes and the eyebrows on this plush, you could actually barely see the eyebrows on this plush, mainly just because of the quality. But they are definitely there, as well. You could see these little black lines above the eyes, so they're definitely there, they're just really hard to see. And while for the actual shape of the Magnet-shroom plush, it seems to be pretty good, except it is missing the fuzzy gray material that's supposed to be there on the edge of the magnet. And while for the actual stem and mushroom parts of this plush, they're just really small, so they basically look the exact same as the limited edition one, as well. They're just very simplistic looking details. So that's obviously why they look accurate looking as well, but you basically can't mess that detail up. But yeah, honestly, it doesn't really look that good in my opinion as well, but just kind of looks way too wide, and it's also missing the really fuzzy material on the gray part of the plush. Next up we have this Cabbage-pult. Now for the leaf base of this plush, you can't actually see it, so it's very hard to tell what it looks like as well. You could only see one little part of it as well, the rest of it's blocked by this Marigold. But yeah, for the part of the plush that we could actually see, you can see that the top of the Cabbage-pult actually isn't fully glued onto the plush, as though the dark green part of the plush is actually supposed to be covering the light green part of the plush, but it's obviously not. So it ends up just making this plush look really strange, as though the dark green part is supposed to be glued onto the light green part, and what it actually does seem to be is just glued on way too low. So they should have just made the light green part of the Cabbage-pult just way smaller, as though that would make it just look 10 times better. And while for the embroidery on the face, it doesn't really look that bad, and it actually seems to be the most accurate part of the plush. But yeah, I have no idea why they put the light green material so far up as well, but it just makes the plush look really strange. Next up we have this Kernel-pult. Now I really like the leaves on this plush as well. They're actually a lime green color, so it makes this plush a bit more unique than just your normal Kernel-pult bootleg. And while for the embroidery on the eyes and the eyebrows, it actually looks really good and really accurate to how the Lynxen Kernel-pult looks. And while due to the quality of the image, I can't really tell what material the Kernel-pult is made out of, but it doesn't really look like the Lynxen Kernel-pult material. As the kernel part of the plush just seems to be way too small to actually be the Lynxen plush, so unless they just made tons of those tiny ones, I think is actually made out of a different material. But it is quite hard to tell due to the quality of the image just not being that good. But yeah, for the part of the plush that I actually can see the details on, it actually looks pretty good, and the leaves seem to be nicely glued on to the actual kernel part of the plush, so they definitely did a good job with that. I also think the embroidery looks pretty good, and it also seems to be really nicely stuffed, so this is definitely a good Kernel-pult bootleg. Next up we have this Marigold. Now on the leaf base of this plush, the front leaf doesn't really have a dimple on it, but you can kind of see on the back leaves they do have dimples. So yeah, for whatever reason, the front leaf you can't really see the dimple on it, but I'm pretty sure it's still there. It's just kind of hard to tell due to the angle of the image. But yeah, honestly, I think they just should have used a normal Lynxen leaf base for this one. Just ignore the dimples completely. But yeah, for the actual face on this plush, they actually did a good job with it. They just made the petals just way too big. As though they should have made them just a little bit smaller and also added a few more of them. And well, for the face on this plush, they got the color with it correct, and also all the embroidery looks great. As well, the eye shines look pretty good, and basically every single detail on this plush looks accurate. And well, I have to say, compared to most Marigold bootlegs, they actually did a pretty good job with this one. Next up we have the Cattail. Now for the leaf base on this plush, the shape of it they actually did a great job with, as well the shape of the leaf seemed to be very accurate to the limited edition one. Once again, the dimples just ruin it though. And well, as I said with the Marigold plush, I think they should have just scrapped the dimples completely, as though it just kind of ruined a lot of their plush design. I think if they just used a normal leaf base with no dimples, it would have made the plushes just look a lot better. But yeah, for the Cattail's face, the embroidery seems to be pretty good, and it has a pink plastic nose on it, which could actually get chipped because it is made out of a plastic material. The ears have some stitching on it to give it a bit more detail, and the hat on the Cattail seems to be nicely stitched on. And well, for the actual tail part of the plush, we can't see it, so I can't really say if the Cattail is accurate or not. But it most likely is accurate, as though the tail on the Cattail is just a very simplistic design, so it would actually be pretty hard to mess up. But there has been times, such as the modern bootleg plush, that has messed it up with the wrong color, so I guess it is possible to mess it up. Unless if this plush shows up somewhere else, we'll never really know if the tail is accurate or not. Next up we have the Apple Bomb. Now, the leaf base and the stem use the exact same lime green color as the sunflower plush, and it seems to use basically the exact same leaf base. And while for the face on the Apple Bomb plush, the left eye kinda looks weird. The main reason for this is that it actually seems to just have way too much black embroidery on it, as well, but you could actually kinda tell it goes into the eye. So it seems that actually part of the left eye is just fully black when it's actually supposed to be partly yellow. So yeah, that is one detail that I don't really like on this plush, but that could just be an error. But yeah, besides that, the rest of the plush seems to be pretty accurate looking. I think they just should have made the mouth and the eyes just slightly bigger to take up more space on the face. I also think they should have made the stem just a bit bigger as well, but I think it would have just looked slightly better and also just look more accurate to the Lynxen plush. But yeah, it's definitely really not that bad of the plush. The face just has a few details that I would change. Next up we have the Dark Tomato. Now for the leaf base on this plush, just like most Dark Tomato bootlegs, they did a horrible job with it, as though none of the leaves look accurate. As though they just look really flat looking and they really have no definition or detail to them. And while the stem on this plush also doesn't really look that good as well, but it's way too light of a green color, and it looks more like a light green color that kind of blends in more with a yellow. So yeah, I really have no idea why it's that color, and it looks kind of ugly. And while the eyes on this plush are probably the only good part of the plush, and you can't really see the mouth in this picture, so I can't really tell if it's accurate or not. But yeah, the leaf base on this plush and also the stem just doesn't really look that accurate, so I can't really say that this is the best plush that they ever made. It's actually one of the worst looking ones. Next up we have the Dragon Beauty. Now you can't really see the leaf base on this plush besides one leaf, but it basically seems the exact same as the Dark Tomato, so once again it probably isn't accurate. And well, for the eyes on this plush, we could only really see one eye clearly, and it's just really blurry, so I can't really tell if it's accurate or not, and once again we can't see the mouth. So I can't really tell you if the eyes and mouth are accurate looking, mainly just because of the quality of the image, and also the cattail is blocking most of the face. And while for the rest of the details on this plush, they're kind of hard to see, mainly just due to the quality of the image, but it does seem to be pretty nicely stuffed, and especially with the top of the plush, you could actually tell that they added some details to it. But yeah, just like the Dark Tomato, this definitely is one of the worst plushes that they made. And while for the only zombie in this set, we have the basic zombie. Now for the face on this plush, it actually looks really good and basically looks completely accurate to the Lynxen plush. And while the only really bad thing about it is that the eyebrows are just slightly too light of a gray color, but besides that, the rest of the face actually looks basically perfect to the Lynxen plush. And while the face used on this plush basically looks the exact same as the one used in the set 1 of the Head Zombie sets, so yeah, it actually basically looks to be the exact same plush used there. And while for the clothes on this plush, they seem to be pretty good and they seem to be really nicely made, and they're about the exact same as the Lynxen plush. And well, for the shoes on this plush, they are the exact same as your normal basic zombie plush, and the hands seem to have some slight embroidery on them. But yeah, it basically looks the exact same as the basic zombie in the first set, so that's the main reason why it just looks really good, as well they basically just stole their own design. But yeah, that was the entire set. This plushie is just extremely obscure, and most of the plushes you can actually see them fully. As though these were all just set images, so a lot of the times other plushes were covering them, and also the quality of these pictures just aren't the best. But sadly, there aren't really any other images, and this plushie is just extremely obscure and basically impossible to get. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please like and subscribe, and comment down below which plushie it says your favorite, and yeah, have a great day.